guys, it's Caroline, and today I'm going to be doing the BookTube Newbie Tag. Now, I'm just going to get right on into it because the first question is, why did you start this channel? Well, quarantine happened, and instead of going into my graduate program and getting a job in publishing, I graduated and then nothing happened, and then now I am a math tutor for high schoolers in my area, and so I don't talk about books the way I used to. I used to spend a lot of time hanging out with friends who loved books. We talked about them all the time. Used to go to classes where everyone had read the same books. And I also watch a lot of BookTube. I thought it would be interesting to join the conversation and find other people like me, but also I thought it would be interesting to see if I could handle the tech side because I'm not a very tech savvy person, and I just thought it would be interesting to give it a whirl, and if I was ever gonna do it, it was gonna be when I was living at home and just like kind of hanging out and tutoring on my own schedule. So here I am. Next up, what are some fun and unique things I can bring to BookTube? I think one of those is the fact that I just read such a sheer volume of books. I've currently read over 160 books in 2020. I beat last year, which was 140. I'm going for 200, and I read basically everything. I think that just gives me a lot of material to work with, whether I'm trying to recommend something, whether I'm talking about what I've read recently. I think it just gives me a lot of opportunity to have different opinions because I have so many books that I've just read and know about. Next up, what am I most excited about? I'm just most excited about meeting new people and getting in touch with people who think like I do or don't think like I do. That's also fun, but who want to talk about some of the books that I want to talk about or the books that are on my mind recently. Next up, why do I love reading? This is almost an impossible question because it's almost like, why do you love breathing? I can't ever remember a time where I wasn't constantly reading. I think part of it is because I feel like I can just fall into a world. It's kind of a level of escapism, not that I have anything to escape, but I love hearing different opinions. Also, I am like a really hyper person, and that seems like it makes no sense, like how could you read? But when I watch TV and movies, I have to be doing something else. Like I have a really hard time just sitting and focusing. I either have to be doing a puzzle or like playing on my phone or knitting or doing something with my hands. And something about a book, you know, a physical book in my hands that like takes your brain, your eyes, your hands. You really can't do anything else while you read, although I can walk and read and whatever. But it just immerses me so much, and it's one of the few things that can actually do that. And so I really appreciate it. I mean, I can't even play video games and just play video games. I feel like I also have to be like watching a show, whatever. But then I also love that an audiobook allows me to just like read on the go. So it kind of gives me that dual thing where it's like I can be super hyper, you know, go for a run and listen to an audiobook. I go for a drive, listen to an audiobook. But it also, when I want to sit down and just completely shut everything out, a book is the one thing that allows me to do that single-handedly. Next up, what book or series got you into reading? Now, I couldn't name a single thing because, again, I just can't remember a time where I wasn't reading. But I do remember being a kid and really loving series like Fablehaven, Series of Unfortunate Events, Harry Potter, Percy Jackson. I loved Inkspell and just books like that. And then I remember when I was kind of like 10, 11, 12, that was when I think the Twilight craze was kind of happening, and I didn't love Twilight, but I loved a bunch of those paranormal romances that got spawned with the Twilight craze. So like Vampire Diaries, that whole series by PC and Kristen Cast, just things like that where it was angsty, and then all of a sudden the dystopian craze, all of that I think just captured my attention when I was a teenager. And so those kind of propelled me into being like, nope, you're a reader for life. And I'm a reader for life. So that's not a real answer to that question, but moving on. What questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? I think I would probably ask them, first of all, how do you deal with the tech side of it all? Like, I think what gets me down the most is having to sit down and edit these or figure out how to position myself. Like, how do you get the knowledge on how to do all that stuff? I'm sure there's videos, but I have trouble finding them. The other thing is how do you come up with creative stuff on your own? I know there's tags, obviously. There's like wrap-ups and TBRs and all of that good stuff, but like how do people come up with their own ideas? And do you ever get kind of stagnant? Do you worry that you're not doing anything creative enough? I don't know. A lot of questions. Next up, what challenges about starting a BookTube channel will be the hardest to overcome? I think I will be kind of scared that I'm just shouting into the void. I think I'll be worried that I'm not actually reaching an audience, and that's going to demoralize me, and then I'll just stop. Even though, like, in my brain, I know this kind of stuff takes time, that you don't just, like, show up to YouTube and have 12 million followers or, you know, subscribers. Wow, see? I'm really ready. But anyway, you don't just show up and then everyone falls into your lap. Like, you have to work for it and put in the work and, you know, take the time. And then people will come if they like your stuff. And I am such a results-driven person that I'm going to have to get myself out of that mindset. But that's a me problem. Next up is, when did you start reading? Now, this is a question I would love to know the answer to, because I apparently would tell everyone, nope, can't read till I'm 5, although my mom was suspicious that I could read before I was 5 years old, but I just said, nope, you can't make me read until I'm 5. I don't know where I got that from, but that's what I would say. But I do know when I was like 2 years old, I would sit with my picture books, and I'd seen the picture book so many times that I could just recite from memory what the picture book said. I wasn't reading, but I would flip through the pages and like say the stuff. So I've always been a book person, even before I could read. So I was like reading the picture books at 2, but not really. And somewhere between 2 and 5, I actually learned for real how to read, but refused to do so in the presence of others until I was officially 5. Where do I read? Literally anywhere. I like to read in bed, you know, before I fall asleep. But I mean, I'll pop in an audiobook and listen while I drive, while I run, while I'm doing work, while I'm doing chores. Literally anything I can do while listening to an audiobook, I'll do. So as long as I'm not like reading anything that I need to retain, or like trying to listen to something else, then I can do an audiobook, and I probably will do an audiobook. I also always have a book in my purse or on my phone or both. And so if there's a downtime, like, oh, you gotta wait 15 minutes for your appointment, oh, you know, someone's late, oh, this, that, and the other thing, just like how people fiddle on their phones, I'll whip that book out. I can do it when it's loud, I can do it when it's quiet. I don't need anything besides the fact that I need a book. So I'll read anywhere, I'll do it. Don't make me, I'll do it. And then finally, what kind of books do you like to read? Again, this is just like basically anything. I used to say I'd only read fiction, but that's a lie, because now I read a decent amount of nonfiction. I think about 10% of my books this year are nonfiction. I'm pickier with my nonfiction. I don't like histories or biographies, but I do love a good memoir, and I do love some anti-racist reading. I found those really helpful and interesting this year. But yeah, I think in terms of fiction, my favorite genres are like literary fiction and fantasy, and my least favorite is probably contemporary. And then I have a really fraught relationship with thrillers, because I always say I don't like them, and then I read a decent amount of them, and then I'm usually disappointed because I'm very picky about my endings. But then I say I don't like them, and I forget, and then I read a bunch of them. So I don't know. But that being said, I'll read almost anything. Okay guys, that's it for my BookTube Newbie Tag.